Hello and welcome to another episode of Fear the Talking Heads. I'm Barb and I'm joined here today by the three guys from Bonehead Weekly, one of my favorite podcasts. Hi, guys.
What up,
Hello.
Slick?
Thank you for joining me as we discuss the topic of villainous kids in horror. I'm excited. Are you guys excited?
I
Talk
mean,
about creepy kids?
what's your definition of excited? I have a couple of questions before we get started because I'm not used to being on other people's shows. So is this PG, PG-13, or I'm legitimately asking. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not censoring you guys. Whatever you want to say on the show. I
Oh,
know.
this is great. Now Joe's
Yeah.
going to find an excuse to scream
No holds
poppycock every
barred.
5 minutes.
Mine is a different kind of villainous because it's one of my favorite horror films that's been made in the last 20 years. And it's Ellie from Let the Right One In. I mean, she's a vampire and she's clearly a murderer, but she loves Oscar, the little boy. And she can't help what she is, and she consumes everything. She consumes and the remake Let Me In is good too, by the way. The American version is good too. If you've never seen the movie, it's about a little boy who is beaten up and bullied and befriends another younger girl who turns out to be a vampire. And she never grows old and she always needs a caretaker. And he basically is going to become her caretaker. But I do think she loves him. I just don't think she can be anything but all consuming. She's a vampire metaphorically and realistically. And the scene that takes place with him in the pool is not only frightening, but beautiful and one of the best horror scenes ever made.
Thanks, Joe. What about you, Chad?
I had to go with Rhoda Pinmark.
Dad, I will come to your house and destroy what you love. That's right. I'm taking all your action figures, but leaving your family completely alone.
James tag teamed me on this because I think James probably did more research on Rhoda Pinmark. Rhoda Pinmark is the main character from The Bad Seed.
Yeah.
The original version is from 1956. It was directed by Mervyn Leroy. It was written by John Lee Mahan, Maxwell Anderson, and William March. The star of the movie, Rhoda Pinmark, was played by Patty McCormick.
Yes.
And essentially what it is she's this little girl. She just seems like this average sweet 8-year-old girl. But at one point, a rival at her school dies under mysterious circumstances during a school picnic. And then her mother starts to realize that her daughter may not be what she seems.
So the end of the book is the mother realizes what her daughter is,
Which is
and
pure evil.
pure evil. Yeah, I mean, this is Damien before Damien, except no supernatural powers. She just is able to get away with it because everybody's like, oh, she's just a little
Yeah,
girl.
and her family is perfectly normal. There's nothing her parents ever did to create. She's just tainted.
Yeah. And so the end of the book, the mother decides she's going to take care of the situation, and she
I did see
feeds her
this.
an overdose of sleeping pills. And once she sees her daughter collapse, thinking that she may actually have something wrong with her that has spread to her daughter, she commits suicide. She takes a gun. And the original end of the book is people hear the gunshot and think that she went crazy and come to save the daughter. And of course, what do they find? A little girl that's been poisoned by her own mother. And then she realizes that whatever she does from then on will be perfectly fine because she's a victim. A lot of horror websites point to the bad seed as the start of evil children, like unredeemable evil children in
Yeah,
films.
from what I can find, when I did my research from my client, this is the first one. There's
Yep.
nothing that precedes it or
Bloody
proceeds.
Disgusting refers to her as, let me quote this, the grandmammy of all messed up horror movie kids. She started it all.
Yeah, that's why we had to bring it up when you came up with this topic.
When you start Googling it, and I usually go back and look at all the listings, it's number one on almost every single list. But don't you find it fascinating that there's not one before 1956? I mean, of all the different storytelling, because there's no new stories. We didn't have an evil kid before 1956.
Well, I
Oh,
think who knows? Maybe just before then, nobody thought that children could be that evil. Mm.
They've never met ours.
Oh. There's mentally psychopathic children, and that would be where Rhoda Penmark falls. There's evil presenting as children, which would be Ellie, Abigail. Then there's the ones that I think are more compelling are things like when they're made evil by something happening, either possession or the one I'm going to start with is, I think, and it's one that if anybody knows, I'll be shocked. The Children, they film Made in England, directed by Tom Shanklin. A family which includes a blended family. They've got the mother has a daughter from a previous marriage who is almost not a child. She's a teenager. They're visiting some relatives in the northern part of the country. And on the way, one of the children start to get sick and they think it's car sickness. And they get to the destination. The child vomits up bile and it's all that stuff. But as the movie goes along, you realize it's a virus and there's something going on. And the children are compelled to wander off into the woods and they're attacking adults and they're doing all of this terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. And the long story short is, and I think what makes it a compelling film about kids being evil is that it's viral, but then when's the cutoff? And so the last scene in the movie is, I won't spoil too much, but the mother and the child from a previous marriage, who is almost an adult, is a upper level teenager, are driving away, and the teenager starts to get violently ill. And it's okay, wait a second, when does this actually stop spreading? What's the cutoff age? And so in that way, it's a weird riff on this concept of, almost a children of men type argument, right? What happens if all our kids get sick? And when does that end? And what are we going to do with it? Are we going to kill our own children to stop the spread of this virus and things like that? So it's a very, very interesting film. It got really good reviews. And actually, one of the best reviews said, whatever your horror kink is, you're going to find something to like in this movie. You're not going to like it all because it does have a lot of different things going on. But you're going to find something that you're going to be like, oh, I did not see that coming. I think my type of horror film that really get to me is not, oh, my kid's been evil all along. It's what happens if something clicks or infects or spreads, and then all of a sudden, I have to duct tape my children to the wall, not for just entertainment like I do now, but for serious reasons.
Yeah, for reals.
On my notes, I literally have them subdivided into quote unquote true evil children, which would be the Rhoda Penmark, where they're just these kids are just evil, and then viral or chemical, and then evil presenting as a child, and then the supernatural, as
yes.
well as evil aliens.
Chad, do you feel like he's just trying to one up us or show off?
Dude, listen, I'm an academic. It was either this or I was going to have to grade papers. So guess which one I put more effort into.
I probably picked one that you guys didn't because you guys don't usually pick the obvious ones, but I am going with.
And if you did, we'll just punch you in the face.
You can certainly try. Okay, so 2019 Brightburn is the one that I chose.
That's a good pick.
Thank you. The reason
it's terrible.
I
don't like it.
I know you don't like it. I think you had mentioned this once before. No, I think you had told me once before that you were like, it was okay.
It is okay.
The story behind it is that this kid is just an alien, just like Superman. Once he gets to his 12th birthday and hits puberty, all hell breaks loose because, he is essentially the horror version of Superman. So he starts to come into his own with these powers, learns he can fly, learns he's strong. So he starts to kill people when they tick him off.
Nope. No. I hear. I go.
These type of stories where the kid hits puberty and then they turn into something completely different. And it leaves you with the hopeless feeling kind of at the end of it because it's not a happy ending. But yeah, so that's my first pick and I'm sticking with it, Brightburn. And the kid's name was Brandon. So,
well, in defense of me, it's not that I dislike the movie. It's one of those examples of where I just wish there was more to it. It's a great idea and there's some really good scenes in it. I just wanted more from it.
Well, I think though,
Chad's got a smile on his face. What are you thinking about, Chad?
No, just Joe Lewis hates anything fun.
I told you, didn't I say?
Hey, you all leave that moon-faced assassin of joy alone.
Who's your number 2, Joe?
Am I up again?
Barb's trying to
Yes.
keep us on point.
I didn't realize I was up again.
Yes, you are.
Well,
It's a
see,
good.
Joe, we're going around the bend. You see, he never was good at
Going
kindergarten.
around the bend. Almost the creepiest kid in the top 3 in cinema history is Gage Creed.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a kid that's
Take
made
him
evil because
off
he
my
seems
list.
okay.
X.
I mean,
Oh, he
okay,
was on your
so
list.
That it was he was. I figured Joe was going to get him, so
Yeah.
I put him up there just in case.
I
well, the
figured
thing
one of
is,
you
I
would have
almost
him.
didn't go with him, Chad, but the reason because I thought it was a little too obvious, but
There's
the
nobody
thing
creepier.
the movie to me, it's one of those. It's a really well made movie. Mary Lambert came out of directed videos from Madonna and so many other people, and she did a bang up job. The original movie was going to be directed by George Romero. I would have loved to have seen Romero's version. This version is a really well made movie that's kind of miscast in a lot of different places. However, I know that it's some of people's favorite films. I get it. I just can't stand Dale Mitkiff in it. And one of the things that I think that the movie always misses, even though I really like the movie, is the sense of loss that you get in the book. Because the book is all about how do you deal with loss or the lack of actually being able to deal with loss.
Right.
And there's just a heaviness to it that kind of doesn't happen in the movie.
The Pet Cemetery movie focuses more on the creep factor.
The creep factor. Yeah, and I get it. And by the way, there are scenes in that movie that are absolutely positively fucking amazing.
Her sister.
Unfortunately, the
Yeah.
death is too well done.
Yeah.
It's almost too well done. And that shoe, it is memorable. It will rip you apart with the flashes of him being, and if you're a parent, it's a whole different thing watching it after your kids are born.
This movie, it's kind of a cheat because what it is, it's based off a TV show, but the kid in itself is so damn creepy. I have to bring him up. Have to bring up Anthony, the little kid from It's a Good Life, from the segment of Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yeah.
Directed by Joe Dante. It's based off a Twilight Zone, the episode of In the Cornfield. Is that what the show was
Yeah.
called?
Wish him to the cornfield. Wish him to the cornfield.
Yeah, which was about a little boy who had these supernatural powers where if somebody, and he actually controlled a whole town where if people irritated him, he would send them to a cornfield never to return.
Yeah. Or turn him into a Jack in the Box.
Or turned his father into a Jack in the Box. The Twilight Zone, the movie, Joe Dante did a different spin on that story. What it is this woman comes into this family's household to visit their son Anthony, and the family is a bunch of assholes, plain and simple.
But are they assholes because they've had to suffer from this little bastard?
That's the question. But that doesn't really get explained. It's up to for interpretation.
Or are they actually even his family?
Yeah. It's all up for interpretation. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
But Anthony is there and just Anthony has control of everything. But as his family gets more and more rude with him, Anthony proceeds to do things with his supernatural powers to his family. Because in all fairness, they asked for it, but still he uses his powers for evil to just torture these people, even though they're horrible people. But he uses those powers for evil.
They had it coming.
They had it coming.
It's funny how you forget about certain movies. And I was remembering as the rabbit was coming out of the hat, it was like this evil rabbit.
That was
pure Joe Dante.
Yeah. When you gave us this assignment, it was no contest. Anthony.
Excellent. Nice choice.
Thank you.
But here is the summary of the film. I'm going to read this verbatim. An intergalactic warrior who joins a cosmic Christ figure in battle against a demonic 8-year-old girl and her pet hawk, while the fate of the universe hangs in the balance. Multidimensional warfare, pre-adolescent profanity, and brutal avian attacks combine to transport viewers to a state unlike anything they've experienced, somewhere between hell and the darkest reaches of outer space. 1979, The Visitor.
It was shot in Atlanta. Do you know much about this?
I don't know anything about the shooting. I just vaguely remember an 8-year-old with a demon hog that attacks people, and I was like, "What movie was that?" Because that's a great evil child.
It's such a weird movie. If you guys get a chance, you should totally check it out. He's basically an alien, I thought.
It's kind of a Brightburn thing, except not as well done. Cast agreed to make the movie for a free trip to Italy. Henriksen dislikes talking about the movie and called it a real turkey, but it does have an evil child that uses a hawk to attack people.
It's not good, but it's
No.
so bizarre. You should totally watch it.
Honestly, it's one of those things that popped up on my radar because I vaguely remembered the scene with the girl and the hawk using the hawk to like rip people apart. But what made me think of it is there's not a lot of science fiction horror films. I mean, there are, but there's like deep space ones. You've got what? Event Horizon, Pandorum,
Mm-hmm.
Alien. I mean, obviously that's subgenre there. So anytime there's it's Christ figures and aliens, I'm like, well, I'll give this a shot. And so I remembered that scene, and I was like, well, I have to talk about The Visitor. But no, I mean, you should watch it, but don't go out of your way. Like, don't pay $40 for a DVD copy or anything. I want to.
From 1981, Bloody Birthday. The kids, Curtis, Debbie, and Steven, these three babies were born actually during the solar eclipse.
Always a bad sign.
I just love that it kind of goes into horoscopy kind of stuff. So once they fast forward, they're 10 years old. They just have no empathy. They're going around basically killing people just for funsies. And the little girl is keeping a little scrapbook of anytime someone dies and it goes in the newspaper, she keeps a little scrap. And she's 10. These kids are 10 years old. One of their parents even gets knocked off. These kids it kind of made you look at them like, oh my gosh, gives me
Southern
almost like a
Gypsies.
Children of the Corn vibe in some ways, because these kids are just doing whatever.
Well, thanks for
But-
taking my third pick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm joking. It wasn't.
But yeah, 1981's Bloody Birthday. And in the movie, they're even kind of talking about how during a solar eclipse, blocked Saturn, which helps decipher someone's emotions, and how accurate that is, I just don't know. But it sounded good for the movie.
Children of the Damned. It was remade by Carpenter in 95. It's based on The Midwich Cuckoos, which is a novel by John Wyndham. And I was going to ask James if he actually ever read it. I know I hadn't.
No, that's one I haven't read.
And it's one of those where the cuckoo birds lay their eggs and then put them in another nest so that the other bird raises their eggs. It's a great movie about these little blonde little bastards who can make people do what they want to do. And it's been a minute since I've seen the original version, gentlemen. And well, Barbara, you just watched the remake. I don't think it explains in the original version where they came from.
Mm-mm.
And the remake only kind of one of the kid kind of references is that.
So it's full
taking
disclosure.
Yeah.
It's the only John Carpenter movie I've never finished.
Why?
It's not great. It
was
looks
so
like a TV
bored.
movie. I think some of the visual effects actually in the
Yeah.
remake are pretty good.
They are.
And I think Christopher Reeve is the best damn thing in the movie. I think,
Yeah.
I think that may be his last
It
performance
was. I
as
saw
he's
that.
still able to walk. It's actually one of Kirstie Alley's worst performances
You
in
thought so?
film history. She is so wooden in that movie, but it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Oh. Okay, you need
I
to rewatch
really
it then.
I really don't care for the remake.
Okay.
I actually think I may like Ghost of Mars slightly better than the remake. I think Ghost of Mars is a little bit more John Carpenter.
Yeah, it's more entertaining. We got to talk about Fenton from Frailty.
Chad,
Yeah.
Good one.
Yo,
I'm high-fiving you right now.
thank you.
Like, you're welcome, because I would not have even thought about that.
If it's on a list, I would be shocked.
I don't think
I
it
didn't see
is.
it on one list. I didn't see it on one
as
list.
amazing as Frailty is, it's gotten lost.
I agree.
It just proved that I wish Bill Paxton would have made more movies
Oh, absolutely.
while he was still around. So, yeah, Frailty, for those listeners who may
You don't
not
want
know-
Ghost Paxton movies?
Oh, I would kill for Ghost Paxton films. I would kill for more
Let's
Paxton.
write Ghost Paxton right now.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
So for those who maybe not know who, and I'm sorry, I might not have fulfilled the goal of obscure, but I figured that this fell into obscure because nobody would think about putting this on the list.
That's right.
So Frailty, for those who may not know what it is, it's about this man who's just your average dad who's raising two sons alone. They're lower, they're not middle class, they're barely making it. But one day he just suddenly comes to his sons and said he's received a message from God and that he can see demons, and God has asked him to kill these demons. And the demons are look like normal human beings. So now their dad is just killing normal human beings, and he wants his sons to help him. Well, one of these sons refuses to help him, and it's just about him constantly fighting his father, and his father having to kind of torture him because God is telling him to do so. And what it is, it's just a clash between the father and son. And again, we're talking about spoilers here, and why this is on my list. It turns out all along that this son is actually evil himself. And towards the end of the movie, you see just how evil he is. And it just spirals down from there. Again, Bill Paxton does an amazing job storytelling this story. When Barbara gave this assignment, this movie made my list because I just thought, because Bad Seed is pretty obvious. Daughter's evil. Twilight Zone, the movie, kid's messed up. He's killing people in the household. But Fenton, you don't know he's evil. As far as you know, he's just being tortured by this man, his father, who's gone crazy. And nobody knows why he's killing these people. But at the end of the movie, you realize, oh no, he's just a man who's trying to defy God and not realize that his son is evil, and he pays the ultimate price. But yeah, some amazing performances by Powers Booth, Matthew McConaughey, even Matt
Powers Booth is in that.
Yeah, Matt O'Leary as Fenton. So please check out Frailty if you have not seen it.
Yeah, most impressive of the ones on the list. Chad gets that. So
the film Little Evil. If you've not seen it, so Adam Scott, basically the plot to the film is he's going to become this child's stepfather, and he starts to realize there's two mysterious suicides that happen around this kid, and he's eventually, somebody just goes, that child is actually the Antichrist. And the rest of the film is him coming to terms with the fact that he actually is marrying into this family, and he actually feels the need to defend the Antichrist to be a good stepfather.
Oh my God.
It's a horror comedy. And if you even just Google it and pull it up on Wikipedia, they have the poster. They're totally mocking Damien, the way the kid's dressed, and all that stuff. Oh, and so I think that's the other thing. And if we're going to do honorable mentions, I won't go too much further. But there's so many, because the idea of evil children only works so far, because there's a lot of things that go against it, like evil teenagers. Okay, but if you tell me, oh, this 4-year-old's really evil, okay, unless they're supernaturally powered, I can kick a 4-year-old across the room. Now, I won't feel good about it.
But now, how do you know that you can?
You're making me feel bad for laughing.
This is bad. This sounds like a past experience. Are you drawing on experience?
Now I will say I have been kicked across the room before, but thanks for bringing up my bullying experience.
Your trauma.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
I mean, but did you need to use your trauma and kick a 4-year-old?
Joe, listen, it's kind of like when you watch something, and like, let's say you watch somebody do something really cool, like, they're able to kick a bottle lid off.
A 4-year-old?
Yeah, well, and you see that, and you think, well, could I do that? And you have to try. So, yeah, no, if you've never seen Little Evil, though, because it takes the entire evil child thing and it makes it into a horror comedy, and it's probably one of the only films to do a really good job of making it into a horror comedy, because you do feel for Adam Scott as the stepfather type role, because it's like, well, I really do care about this family. So where am I going to draw the line? And what am I going to do to make sure everything works out the way it's supposed to work out? And it just works. It's not a flawless film, but it's a lot of fun to watch, and just buy the ticket, take the ride.
Okay. Nice. I actually will watch it now that you said that. I will watch it.
in the original 1978 Halloween, it's really just kind of glazed over, like, oh, this little kid, he killed his sister. They don't really talk about it too much. Whereas Rob Zombie's Halloween, they really dive into, look at what this kid's home life is like.
It's the most interesting part of the remake is the
It
first
is.
half.
Yeah. Well, I prefer the second half, but here's why. It's because I couldn't stand that kid. So for the second one, that kid looked kind of cute and innocent.
What I really liked about it was, yeah, you see that he has this troubled childhood of he has a stepfather who's a piece of crap, and his mother loves him, but she's struggling just to get by. And he goes trick or treating, he gets all of his candy, and he's sitting outside the house, he's unwrapping it, he's eating it, and everything seems fine. But then he just puts it down, walks inside,
Yeah.
and then just goes at it.
Something just clicks.
That whole scene, the way Rob Zombie shot it and the way it played out, I thought was fantastic.
None of us really talked about Children of the Corn.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is full of crazy kids.
It is.
It's full of crazy kids. It was a movie I tried to revisit a couple years ago and didn't really get into.
It's one of my wife's favorites. She watches it every Halloween.
Yeah. It's that period of time when Dino De Laurentiis was producing a lot of those Stephen King movies, and they were being made out and just plucking, just like a fever of plucking all the different short stories. And I don't know. The short story is okay, and the movie's okay. I need to go back and rewatch it one more time.
The first 20 minutes are the best. You know how you said earlier about a movie seeming like made for TV? It very much felt like made for TV.
And no matter, you want them to explain what walks between the rows or who walks between the rows, but the more you kind of get to it, the more you're like, meh.
Yeah.
The honorable mention 1993 is The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin.
Okay. I was
That's
wondering
good.
if somebody would bring that one up.
Yeah, you have to talk about how just evil and twist. It's his best performance. This evil kid is in the movie for a grand total of maybe 5 minutes. Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby. Okay.
Now, Bad Milo. It's about a man who has very bad stomach problems, doesn't know what's going on. Soon to discover that he has a demon living in his intestines. One day he poops him out, and then havoc ensues. It's a very interesting movie, Bad Milo.
What year did that come out?
2013. And then my final one, the one that I said as teenagers. Guys, we got to talk about Night of the Creeps.
Yeah, but that one does toe the line on me.
Yeah, it does.
Is that one? Yeah, that's kind of
It's not kids, but it's teenagers,
kids,
and
they're kind of another alien movie that we don't think about as aliens because they're little creatures, but they are aliens, aren't they?
It was the first
but I had to
alien
mention
zombie.
I had to mention Bad Milo because it's me, and there's a poop reference in
Oh, there's a poop reference. It just wouldn't be right, Chad, if you didn't.
Mm-mm.
All right, James.
I'm going to go with I have to go with my snooty option. Just I can't, obviously A Perfect Host is not about children, so I'm going to go with the film that comes closest to being a perfect host for children with an evil child. And so I'm going to go with the film starring Sam Rockwell and the 2007 film Joshua.
Yeah.
Joshua, and it's funny because the reviews on this are split down the middle. Some people refer to it as Hitchcockian. Other people say that it's long and drawn out. But the plot to Joshua is basically Joshua is a genius. He is a prodigy at piano. He dresses in suits and all the time, and he's 9 years old. But it turns out that he's also pure evil in that he manipulates his family. One of the most compelling parts is that so there's a newborn. They have a newborn, their second child, and they find out, the father eventually figures out that he's going in at night and just terrifying this child, taking her pacifier, whatever it takes to make her scream all night long. And he slowly is driving his mother legitimately to have nervous breakdowns, doing things like saying, "Oh, will you play hide and seek with me?" And then when she says yes, he takes the baby with him And so she panics and says, "Oh, somebody took the baby, somebody took the baby." And he says, "I don't know what you're talking about." And when she calls the authority, he puts the baby back in the crib. So when they get there, she's like, "No, the baby was here the entire time. My mom's having a breakdown. She's not well." So all this stuff,
Wow.
because he wants to live with his uncle, who is more like a buddy to him. And he at one point wounds himself so it looks like he's being abused, and then he is at the park with his father and basically says, "No, I've been doing this all along," which causes his father to hit him in public, which of course backs up his argument that he's being
Oh.
abused. But I think what's interesting about it to me is it also intersects with this idea of wealth and privilege, because they're a very elite family. That's why I kind of compare it to a perfect host. He carries this elitism with him, and he matches it with this brilliant mind to say, "I pretty much can do what I want and you can't stop me." And it's a really compelling movie. The other honorable mention I wanted to do, which is a mainstream one, Sadako Yamamura. Sadako Yamamura is also would be Park Yoon-soon, best known for coming out of televisions and killing people as needed.
I thought about using Samara as one of mine too, and I don't know. I walked away from it. I don't know why.
Because it's
That's
too
actually one of the
easy.
versions where both are good, but I do prefer the American version to The Ring.
I need to go back and see where it's Park Yoon-soon, which is in the Ring virus. I haven't seen that one.
Quit telling me when to park. I'm not leaving my house.
He
But-
said soon.
But
You know,
anyway,
and James, that
I-
means 4 hours.
as far as supernatural demon children, I think Samara Morgan, or if you want to go with the original of Sadako Yamamura, I think it's just terrifying in that as often Japanese horror does, you don't have to because there's one of my other honorable mentions is and I'm blanking on the name and I'm not going to take time to look it up, but the little boy from The Grudge. This is one of the challenges, I think, is that often these people are the victims, but their spirits are angry. They have suffered, and so they're going to make everybody suffer. And one thing that I do like about Japanese horror films, especially early when they started to import them to America, what made them different is, I don't have to worry about Jason because I'm not going to go to the creepy Camp Crystal Lake where
Campground,
people
yep.
die every summer.
But the fishing's so good.
I don't care. You know what, Joe? They have fish at the store. It comes in a bag. I put it in the oven.
Yeah, but every
It's-
time
No,
I take
no,
a
no.
rod and reel
They
in
have
there
fish
and
at
I
Long
get behind the
John's.
counter.
Long
What?
Johns.
Well, there's not one local
There's
anymore,
not one
Chad.
in
Thanks for
Lexington
bringing
anymore,
it up.
Chad.
I know.
We got to drive all the way to Paris, France.
Or Frankfurt. Yeah, I do it on
There's
my
one
way
in
back. Anyway,
Frankfurt. Road
but
trip.
I think
Soon.
I
They're
think
impossible, James.
I think the reason that these are compelling in some ways that American
easy.
created ones before this time period aren't is you don't have to do anything to be targeted by them. Sarah Michelle Gellar walks in a house and is marked for death. That's
I
her
agree.
crime. She walks into a house and she's marked for death. And I think that's what makes
All you got to do is keep talking.
these supernatural children. I'm marked for death every day. Bring it on. Let's go.
Chad.
Let's go.
So
Steven
intense.
Seagal. So the only reason why he
Call to
wears
me.
the only reason he wears the sunglasses is because I just sit here and I look at him and it just keeps the dreamy away.
Oh my
Otherwise, you just get
goodness.
lost in his eyes. Look,
Oh,
Chad.
wow.
Look
You
at
would
them.
know,
You
Joe.
can kind of see through them.
You would
I
know.
do love looking in James's eyes.
Yes.
Your eyes are like the heat. Your eyes.
I am complete now, James.
I only
So
have
anyway.
two.
Hi,
I had
James. You got.
Thank you,
pretty-
James.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if someone would mention The Grudge, just because it is a
Creepy
good
kid,
one in
man.
horror.
I
Yeah,
just-
creepy kids are great in the horror subgenre. Okay, so two that I have. Well, the first one that I'll mention is Better Watch Out, which is a great Christmas horror. Better Watch Out is this 12-year-old kid. He has a crush on his babysitter, and he wants to woo her, even though she's much older than him. And he's so manipulative. He has the whole night basically planned out on all these horrible things he's going to do. This kid's just a little psycho. How is he only 12 years old? Just seems like an adult in a 12-year-old's body. So the second one, my
Yeah.
last one was We Need to Talk About Kevin. By the way, Tilda Swinton, I think we all can agree, she's
Is
amazing in
just
any
one of the
role.
most talented actresses of
She
all
can,
time. Period.
yes.
I just watched Snowpiercer 2 weeks ago
I love
again, and
Snowpiercer.
she's amazing.
Love Snowpiercer. It's one of my favorite movies.
So good. But yeah, with this movie, the fact that they kind of showed how even a toddler could be so intelligent and cunning, the whole psychology behind it. It is more of a thriller than horror, but I feel like the ending is horrifying enough to mention it. So,
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah.
I didn't
So
even think about. I didn't even think about that being on the list. That was a good choice.
Well, I have two side notes to this because
Yeah.
as you did this episode, this isn't really an honorable
And
mention.
he's leaning towards the side.
It's not an honorable mention because
We're
it's
his
not a
side pieces.
child.
Did you know that, Chad?
You guys better let James speak, dang it.
Why?
It's not. Oh my God! That's a throwback to our early episodes when we used to have people post that.
No way.
That's true. First
true.
couple hundred, yeah, that's true.
Everyone wants to hear James, and you two just ruin it.
I'm just sick and tired of everybody, of all of his fandom, of all his
That's
little
it.
groupies.
You know what? I'm just gonna say this, James. You and I are gonna have an episode. They can't interrupt.
That's fine. We'll just put them on permanent mute, but make them be there. That'd be great. There is this one of my favorite representations of a child in a horror movie is in an action horror movie, but it's not a child because it's not really a child. It's a hologram, and that's from Resident Evil. I will always have the British accent of the Red Queen, the little girl going, "You're all going to die."
Yeah,
down
that's a good
here."
one, James.
Yeah, that is a good
But
one.
it's not really a child, but it's burned because there's something creepy about British children in horror movies.
Chad,
they always are there.
I have to take your award away. I'm sorry. I have to give it to James.
But she's not real.
Yeah, but she's
well, none of these things are. It turns out those moving picture boxes that you keep paying attention to, there's not little people in there doing these shows for you.
Yes, they are.
Oh, that's James. Seriously, I would not have thought of that one either.
When I'm off my medication, Joe.
And the final thing
You're going to die of a heart attack. Your blood pressure is fucking crazy. And your cholesterol, Jesus, you're going to have a stroke.
I'm about to mute him.
My doctor said 400 is godly.
He meant
god
pounds.
Awful. It was god awful. You only heard what you wanted to hear, Chad. Anyway, the flip side of this, by the way, is I was trying to think: are there films that flip this around? And apropos of things we've talked about before, the only thing I could think about where the parents go evil is Mom and Dad with Nicolas Cage.
Oh my gosh, I loved that movie.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys did, but I
loved it.
I've got it on DVD.
I've actually been never bothered to watch it.
You've really never seen it?
I still haven't got to watch it. I still haven't watched it.
He goes full Nick Cage.
Yeah. It's one of the I love Mandy, but Mandy is a great movie for him to go full Nick Cage, but so is Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
And the way that Mom and Dad
in a different
ends,
way.
Yes.
Yeah. The way that Mom and Dad ends though is just perfect. I mean, as a parent, I love my children, but I also fully understand that last line of sometimes we just really want to.
I actually thought one of you all bring it up before we end, and I do have to say we're going to get the shit kicked out of us if we don't mention Reagan from The Exorcist. And it's
just that she was so obvious. That was all.
Yeah.
Right. But so was several of the other ones.
She wasn't evil. It was the
right, but that goes back to the original purpose. Pazuzu, yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about. Back to what James's point of do we talk about the possessed one, because then we could talk about Insidious.
It could just go on and on.
I've never seen Insidious before, and I showed it to her, and at the beginning she goes, "This is really slow," and I'm like, "Wait for it," because that's my entire thing, and it's the thing that I've said to Joe before. My house is haunted. I can move. The first time one of my kids come in, what do you do? I can't just be like, "Oh wait, this one's broken now. Take it to orphanage." Like,
word of the state, I think, is what they call them. That's what you're going to do. Yeah.
What, Joe? That's actually
take this possessed child, Kentucky.
Do you remember? Am I making it up?
I'm moving to Minnesota.
Well, you don't tell them where you're moving; they'll track you down. Anyway,
all that cheese and snowmobiles.
Am I making it up? Wasn't there a movie made about a daycare that took care of evil children? Like it was a horror comedy. Am I making that up?
If not, we should write that piece of shit now before Barbara releases this upon the world.
Hold on, this doesn't get released. It escapes.
That's the truth.